Welcome to Collecting Chaos Live. I messed that up good, didn't I? Welcome to Wednesday night with Collecting Chaos. My name is James, and we're going to start now. Tried a new introduction and messed it up. Isn't that nice? Merry Christmas, everyone. If you haven't heard that from me yet, you just did. Wednesday night with Collecting Chaos with coffee, and there's my coffee. Good drinking temperature. Have an interesting show tonight, I think, for those that tune in. And if you don't tune in, well, that's okay. You can watch this later on, I guess. I'll turn the comments on so I can actually see what people are saying, if anybody says anything. Of course, here's my messed up introduction. Maybe I'll get it right next time. I did remember to turn the tree on. After all, it is Christmas Day. And I'm going to show some of the stuff that I got today. Actually, pretty much all of it that I've received over the last week. A few of them were gifts from people, and an auction that I won, and something that I just bought outright. Going to show you the comics that I pressed this past week, because I always do that. And another episode of Comic Collecting Basics. Actually got it's two episodes, but I jammed them together, much like Batman v Superman jammed like 3 different comic stories together. So there you go. Merry Christmas to you, Marie. So that's what we're going to do. And of course, I'll try to answer any questions you have. And I won another auction, and should be showing next week if the guy actually sends them out. More Lois Lane comics, because you can never have too many Lois Lane comics, right? So we're going to kick it off with the comics that I pressed over the last week, just like I always do. That's my first feature. And I'm working on some little intros for these features, but I haven't done them yet. So we'll get to that eventually. We'll kick it off with Amazing Adventures number 27. I have decided I'm going to keep my Amazing Adventures. I'm not going to put them back up for sale. This one turned out pretty decent. I managed to get the spine tick so they're not dented in. Some of them still break color, but at least they don't dent into the comic. So that made me happy. And I have Archie 203. Now, I think this is the one that I had to... let me check something real quick. And if I can find it, it's going to take me a few seconds. I got to find it on my computer. I think this is the one that I actually fixed a really bad spine roll on. And if I can find where those are, that would be great. I have a whole folder that's nothing but scans for, there it is. No, this isn't the one. But I do think I have that one in here. If not, I'll show it later on. But that's Archie 203. This is part of my permanent collection. All the Archies that I show are part of my permanent collection. So it turned out pretty nice, nice and flat. Amazing Adventures number 28. Again, I'm keeping that. This one, I don't know if this is supposed to be in my collection or not. So I may keep it. I may try to sell it. I don't know yet. Jungle Tales of Tarzan. King Size Annual number 1. And this is from Marvel Comics. Thought I had all of the Marvel Tarzan already, but maybe this one was a later edition that I'm not aware of. I have Daredevil 192. And I have offered this one up for sale before. I will offer it up for sale again. The spine ticks, or the spine creases, You can still see the creases, but it's nice and smooth, and it doesn't dent in like it did before. So I did manage to get that. I'm getting better at that. Been practicing on it. This is an older item. This is part of my Superman collection. The comic reader from 1979. This was a fanzine, fan magazine, and this is number 165, and that's in my collection simply because Superman on the cover, and it has an article on Superman the movie on the inside, so that's why I have to keep that. That's part of my collection. Fury of Firestorm number 61. This is the one that had the real bad water stains on it that I removed. I'm going to keep this one in my collection. Commanding number 56. Again, I managed to get this. I messed up a few of these, but I got most of the spine creases to flatten out and be smooth. Still from, it's a nice Bronze Age comic. Came out pretty decent. Alien Ducklings number 1. I went ahead and pressed this. This was another one that I was working on the creases on the side, trying to make them smooth. I've decided I'm going to keep the 3 Alien Ducklings comics that I have. So this is number 1. This is the other Fury of Firestorm I have. I did go ahead and press it. It didn't really need it. Didn't really need a clean. This one I'll probably put up for sale. Mr. Yu, glad you could stop in. Merry Christmas. So this one I'll probably put up for sale. You probably won't see it this week. I'm waiting until I have a whole enough that I've pressed to just offer nothing but pressed comics one night. Alien Ducklings number 2. All of the little indentations came out of this one. It came out really nice. And this was the deciding factor of that. And I read half of it and went, wow, this is really cool. I'm going to keep them. And then Alien Ducklings number 3. Mr. Yu, did you ever get your box that I sent you? I'm curious to know how you liked that little extra item I threw in. I threw an independent comic from the 80s into his box at no charge. This one, I don't know what I did wrong. This one I didn't get the dent out, so I'm going to have to do it again. Yarn Man number 1. It still has a little spine stress here. Okay, well, I'm not going to tell you what it is, but I will tell you that what it is complete. You'll understand when you see it. So I'm going to do this again and try to get that dimple out that's along the spine. The Luger number 1. I went ahead and pressed this, and a lot of this is just practice, especially since I'm trying something I haven't tried much. Roy, good to see you, buddy. Merry Christmas. Again, this one will be back up for sale, no problem. I have Lois Lane number 4. I pulled this out short last week to tease somebody. And of course, they wanted to know how much I'd be willing to sell it for. This is, I have 2 copies now. This is the better of the 2. I'm going to be keeping this one. Oh, just send it next time you send me something. We'll be good. I don't have a problem with that. Again, I was experimenting with trying to get the spines nice and flat and get the creases out. This comic is worth pretty much nothing because it has a burn right here on the edge. But it's still a neat little book. And I'll be offering it up for sale, or maybe I'll give it away. I don't know. is Kaos of the Wilderness Sea, special #1. This book actually has a small amount of value. I did get most of the spine stress out of it. There's still one or two places, but not a big problem. Southern Comic Geek, glad you could stop in. No, Yarn Man's first appearance was in Megaton Man. His first appearance was in Megaton Man, but that's his first comic, not his first appearance, and obviously not Megaton Man's first appearance. Just here browsing, glad you could stop in. Next up, let me dig this out for you. I'm going to show you this one, and I will share the screen with you once I get it. All right. This comic right here had a really bad spine roll, as you can see from down here. That's splayed out. Really, really bad spine roll. And this is what it looks like now. Spine roll completely removed. Has a little tiny bit, maybe a 1/16 of an inch spine roll left. I used a new way of doing it. I may show that at some point, but as of right now, I want to do at least 10 comics with spine rolls on them to make sure it's going to work all the time and that this wasn't a fluke. So, yeah, Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Festivus. The most appropriate thing is winter solstice, because that just passed this past week. So, and after all of the holidays are based off. All of the holidays during this time of the year are actually based on this winter solstice. So that's what we should be celebrating. Amazing Adventures #29. Like I said, I've decided I'm going to keep these. I just like them. I don't know that I'm going to try to get the whole Amazing Adventures run. Probably just the Kill Raven issues, but knowing me, I'll end up trying to get them all. Badger #3. If you remember, this one had some pretty bad spine ticks on it, and it just came out delightful. I'm improving on my method of doing that. And Amazing Adventures #33. That is the last of the Amazing Adventure comics, I think. I might have one more. I might have #34 still in the pressing. So, Patrick Murphy, Merry Christmas, buddy. Glad you could stop in. Kenneth Bird, glad you could stop in. Merry Christmas. And that's what I pressed this past week. It was fun. I enjoyed it. I've got a lot of older comics that'll be showing next week. They're in the process of being pressed now, including some of my older Lois Lanes. So let's get on to the next item on my agenda: new acquisitions, things that either I received as presents or that I purchased as an auction win, or just something I bought to play with. So yeah, they came out nice. They look a lot nicer now than what they did last week. So first thing, this was a gift to me. This is one of those little Superman in Action Comics books. This is the first one in this series, I think, because it shows Action Comic #1, and all it does is show the comic covers. I have another one for Superman. I have one for Wonder Woman, but I didn't have this. I was glad to get it. That's kind of nice to get, and that was a gift from a friend of mine that I used to work with. They also gave me this, which is kind of cool. And what I really like about this, aside from the fact that it's a Hot Wheel with Superman on it, is Jim Lee did the art on the backing board, or on the backing. So that's kind of neat. That was a gift to add to my Superman collection. Then I got this. This is the Superman keepsake ornament. You plug it into a Christmas tree light and it actually turns from Clark Kent to Superman. And it's really, really cool. This is going in my Superman collection. Absolutely. It'll be up here somewhere on one of these shelves before probably Friday night. Probably as soon as I finish here, it'll be there. And then the guy that sells me comics from time to time, he'll bring me a couple of boxes of comics or toys or all kinds of stuff. He stopped by and he gave me this. And that's just kind of too cool. It's bigger than my regular coffee cup, so I may have to start using it. But I doubt it. No, but I wish they would. I think that would be interesting. A Doctor Who Superman episode would be just awesome. Although they did have that one where the kid swallows some type of a gem and gets superpowers. So I guess in a way they did. Now I'm going to show you some comics. These are ones that the first one I bought because it was water stained, and I'm practicing my taking water stains out of comics. And this one is in pretty bad shape, so I get to practice more than just that. It's Superboy 111. I don't have this one in my collection, which is kind of neat. And of course, it's got these bad water stains on it, as well as a really weak spine. So I'll be doing a spine reinforcement and cleaning it up a bit and trying to remove those water stains. As you can see, they're pretty bad. So yeah, I bought that just to play with. It's nice that I don't have a copy in my collection, so that would be good too. You know, I can add it to my collection regardless of how it turns out. I mean, if I destroy the cover, I don't have a problem with adding a coverless comic to my collection. I know where I can get the front cover, back cover, inside cover, and I can print them out and make them myself. And then I got this as part of an auction that I won last week. And of course, this is Superman's Girlfriend Lois Lane #4. This one's not quite as nice as the one I already have, so I will be offering this one up for sale. It's in this condition. It's anywhere from a $50 to $100 book. I'll probably just ask $50 for it. I don't know yet. Then I got Lois Lane #11. This one will go in my collection. Really, really like that cover. I'll have to look it up. I think this might be a Schomburg cover. I'm not sure. Might be Kurt Swan, but I think it's Schomburg. Then I got a #45. That'll go in my collection. #48, which will also go in my collection. #49. And #50. And I have a copy of this already that's in a little bit nicer shape, so this one will most likely go up for sale. And then I have 51. That one will go in my collection. #52, that'll go in my collection. And Number 53. And now the reason I'm kind of smiling and laughing is because I just finished cleaning my copy of number 53. And I think this one is slightly better. So this one will probably end up in my collection. And this one will probably go up for sale, which means I'll have to clean that one. But then I'm planning on cleaning them all anyway, as well as pressing them. Whether I sell them or not, I'll still clean them first and press them, make them look nice. So that's what I got this week. Nice little stack of Lois Lanes. Oh, I can see them. There's at least 3 duplicates in there that I will be offering up for sale. There's a couple of duplicates in the auction that I just won that I haven't gotten yet. And that's all Lois Lane. I think there was like 6 or 7 issues of Lois Lane, of which 1 or 2 of them I already have. So, yeah, that'll be neat. And I'll probably show those next week. What's next? Oh, comic collecting basics. Again, I'll be making a special little slide for that for when I do it. And this time I'm going to talk about 3 things I think every comic collector, new comic collector that's just starting out, probably should get. And I'm going to show them to you right now. First, comic book boards. Get yourself 100 of them. You're going to need them eventually. And if you buy them by the 100, they're generally a little less expensive than getting them 1 or 2 at a time. Well, I only have 10 comics. I'm only 10 boards. Yeah, you're going to need more than that. Comic bags. Again, you're going to need them eventually. You might as well get them. Now, I get the silver gold or the silver regular size for all of my comics, including moderns, because I prefer that size. Now the golden age and the early silver, I have to get a little bit bigger ones, so I'll have to get some more golden age boards and bags because I'm out of those. Next thing that I think every comic collector should get, basic item, everybody needs it. Cotton rounds. I buy packs of them. They're also called makeup pads. In the hobby, we call them cotton rounds because we don't want to call them makeup pads for some ungodly reason. I don't know why. But these are great, and they should be in everybody's inventory when you're collecting comics. And new collectors should get in the habit of what I'm going to show you tonight. So those are 3 items that I think those are basic items everybody should have. There's a lot of other stuff that collectors should consider getting also, but it's not something that's absolutely necessary. Next up is when you're getting ready to buy a comic, doesn't matter if it's an old comic or a new comic, you should always do the following. You want to open you take the comic out of the bag and board. And I'm going to show you this one. I'm going to show you this one. And then I'm going to describe a few other things that you're going to look for. You want to take it out of the bag if possible. This is for when you're dealing with people face to face, not over the internet. Obviously, you can't have them take it out of the bag over the internet, but they should have enough pictures to give you a good idea of what you're getting. And what you want to look for is basic stuff. And let's go to my other camera and I'll show you what we've got here, what I'm talking about. I set it up differently. Get a little more light on the subject here. Okay, maybe that's too much light. There we go. And we'll start out with this Wonder Woman. Now, if you look at this Return of Wonder Woman, when you first look at it in the bag and board, Oh, it looks mint. Somebody wanted to charge you $3 or $4 for that, you'd probably go, yeah, okay, we'll do that. And you take it out, then you get it home, and you're all happy, and you take it out of the bag, and you open it. Wait a minute. That's far from mint, isn't it? You want to check it. You want to open it up. Look at the spine split on this. Aside from the fact that it's the cover is detached, which you don't want that to happen to you. And the other thing you want to do is you want to open it up and look at every single page of the comic. And you're looking for a couple of different things. One, you're looking to make sure they are all there, that all the pages are there, and that there isn't anything cut out of the pages. Generally, if you count the first 1 to 8, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, you'll be at the center of the book. If you get 8 to the center, generally you have a complete comic. Not always. But you want to go through all of them, and you're looking for more than just the page quality. You're also checking the ink or the print quality, because you will run into comics that have smears on them, or they'll have big blobs of ink. And those are ones that you don't really want. Those are manufacturer defects. You can have a comic that's perfect in every way. When you look at it, you look at the comic and it's absolutely gorgeous. It's absolutely perfect. There's no defects on the cover at all. Cover's tightly attached. It's firmly attached. Sharp corners. No fraying on the edges or anything. And it looks like a 10. But if you open it up and it has a print smear in it, that's a defect. And that would take it down and lower the grade. Lower the perception, and sometimes make it harder to read. This is on my list of comics to reattach the cover to, and then I'll probably give it away. Next, Marvel Tales. Well, obviously, this is going to be one that people want because, after all, it's got a McFarlane cover on it, right? So everybody wants this comic, and they'll pay up for it too. But that's not the only reason they'll pay up for it. They'll pay up for it because it has, if I can find it, it has a Spider-Ham backup story. So, of course, people are going to want it. And now what you're looking at on this one, again, the cover's not that great on this. It's the spine has got a lot of wear. It's barely attached. But again, you're looking at the page quality. Now, in this one, if you look at the top and the bottom, it's wavy. I think you can pick that up. I think you can see how it's wavy like that. And what that's telling me is this has been exposed to water at some point. Now, if you buy it from a dealer, they're going to say, oh, yeah, you can just press that out. That's not a problem. No, you can't just press that out. You can do it if you want to press each individual page separately, but pressing the whole book, it's not going to come out. That waviness is always going to be on the interior pages with a normal press. You have to be very careful about how it's pressed out. I can do that. With this one, it's bad enough. I would soak the pages and let them dry slowly, and then do a press when they're almost dry. That's how I would do that. Those are the things you want to look for when you look on the inside of a comic. You want to look for the print itself. Are the pages bright? Are they vibrant? Is the color good on them? Or does it have an ink splot or like a track mark on the side on the comic? Does it have manufacturer defects on the inside? to include pages that are folded in and then folded out. I have some of those comics. I couldn't find them to show you. But basically, when it's printed, the paper is folded and it just gets printed. It gets like cut like that, and you've got this extra paper that sticks out. It's just one of those things like that. McFarlane is a bum, huh? Yeah. McFarlane would make my top 10 in modern artists. And I'm going to go to that. I'm going to do that eventually. I'm going to do a top 10. I'm going to do a top 10 for my top 10 favorite Golden Age artists, my top 10 favorite Silver Age artists, early and late. In other words, basically, I'm going to say my top 10 40s artists from the 1940s, my top 10 favorite artists from the 1950s, my top 10 favorite from the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, like that. So take Neil Adams. Neil Adams would not be in my top 10 Silver Age artist, even though he was part of the Silver Age, because he started around 67 or 68. Actually started earlier than that. But mainstream, he didn't really get into it till the later 60s. But for Bronze Age, no question, he is among the top Bronze Age artists of all time. Same with Bernie Wrightson. He's among the top for all time for Bronze Age. And to a lesser extent, Copper Age. Copper Age artists, you've got people like Eastman. Kevin Eastman would be up there for Bronze Age, or for Copper Age, because of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. So yeah, there's a lot of, I have to do it that way. I have too many favorites. So, and even with that, even with doing like a top 10 for Silver Age, you know, you'd think the first name on the list would be Jack Kirby, but no, it's not going to be, because I love Jack Kirby's 1950s horror books. So how can I have him as one of my top 10 horror artists from the 50s if I'm going to have him in the 60s? And there's too many other artists in the 60s that I like better than Jack Kirby. Well, Jack Kirby's phenomenal. I think his art's great. His Bronze Age stuff wouldn't make the top 10 for me. And maybe that's because of his inkers. I don't know. Let me see what this says here. Had a close call with ASM 129 at flea market. Was ready to drop some big bucks on it, but I asked to see the comic out of the bag. It had some serious scissor work done to several of the pages. Ouch. I had, when I had my store, I had 2 copies of Spider-Man 129. One of them was near mint, and the other one was maybe fine to very fine. I sold the very fine to fine one. The near mint one was stolen. That hurt bad, because at the time it was only like a $150 to $200 book, but it still hurt, you know. Hey, I paid like 35 cents for that comic. I needed to make a serious profit. And I didn't know I was getting it when I bought it. The guy brought in a box of comics and said, "Are you buying comics?" I said, "I don't really want to, but I'll consider it." He said, it's all stuff from 20 years ago, and give me $20 for the box." And I went, "Yeah, okay, sure." Sold one of them right out of the gate. And that was before I found the 129. You're right. That was inappropriate. You need to call them correctly. Assholes. Sorry, you couldn't resist that. But people that try to tell you about I kind of like it when people try to tell me about comics. And I've watched a few channels where people are talking about, I've been in this hobby for 15 years, and I'm telling you this is how it is because da 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 da. And I'm looking at it, going, 15 years, noob. That's when I just want to get on there and saying, hey, I'm 70. I've been into comics since I was 10 years old. I've been collecting since I was 15. You don't know what you're talking about. But yeah, I'm going to go into a little more depth on the basics on that, on buying comics that are raw, and that's what you do with a raw comic. If you're buying a slab, you're not going to say, "Hey, I want you to open that up so I can look inside of it." You don't do that with a slab. Of course, my feelings on slabs are well known. Put a paper towel on them, use them as a sandwich tray. It works great. Actually, I think it makes me young in comic years. Got to remember, Superboy's older than me. Although, if I were a comic, according to a lot of people, I'd be a golden age comic if I were a comic, because I came out in 1954. So, same as always, Maxwell House, home brewed, black with no cream or sugar. Which one? What? If you're asking me to name a channel, I will not do that. I'm not into that sort of thing. I don't call out other channels. Now, oh, which Superboy? The original, the one they killed off, or I don't think they actually killed him off. I think he just ceased to exist once Crisis on Infinite Earths started. I think Superboy just ceased to exist. That's true. I generally don't have a second cup on this show because I don't want to get up and leave an empty screen and have you guys just staring at all this weird stuff that I have all over the place, that especially this area of stuff that you generally can't buy. Actually, I think I have another one. I have two of these here. Yeah, this is volume 1 and this is volume 2. Which is definitely cool. Yeah. I forgot to buy something. I went to the store yesterday. I needed paper towels. I needed cotton rounds because this was all I had left, and that's not going to last me but a day or two, if that. So I went to the store to buy cotton rounds, paper towels. And there was something else. Anyway, there was another item on my list, and I ended up buying the cotton rounds, a loaf of bread, and some tortillas. Completely forgot to get what I actually went there to buy. Not good. Not good at all. Oh yeah, and I was going to buy something to eat today. Something I'm going to treat myself to something special, and instead I ended up eating, mac and cheese, basically. Yeah, I did. Those Skywald comics, I just don't see them often enough. I mean, they have them on eBay, but they have them for a whole lot more than what I want to pay. I mean, low price for any of those Skywald comics is like $10, and it's just not. No, there aren't a whole lot of them, and the only ones that are really worth any real money are the romance ones, which you just never see. I bought the flour tortillas. I like to sometimes eat them for breakfast. You throw them on a cast iron skillet for a few minutes till they brown. You turn it over until they're brown. It's a little crispy. Put some butter and some strawberry jam on it and eat it, and it's delicious. Yeah, it makes a good breakfast. Probably one I shouldn't be eating. See, ribs in a crock pot. I could do that, and taters. Then I thought about maybe I'd make a pizza and and I've got some frozen broccoli. I could have steamed the broccoli and then put it on the pizza and eaten broccoli and pepperoni pizza, and that way I could have red and green, Christmas colors. I changed my mind and decided not to. Let's see what else. What did I miss? I had leftover before sipping. I might have some tea after this is all over. I haven't made myself some good. I've got some good herbal teas that are good for my throat and lungs. I haven't had that for a while. Yeah, you guys did well on that Butch Cassidy. I don't even have a Butch Cassidy comic. That's how often I don't see him. And I could get them, but like I said, I don't want to pay $10 a piece for them. When I do find them, and every Skywald comic I've ever found has been in $1 or a $2 bin. Go figure. People don't know what they are, so they throw them in the $2 bin. I've had dealers that have looked at them and say, "Oh, that's not worth anything," and toss it aside. Excuse me? I'll take that. And of course, all of them were square bound, so the spines tend to be messed up on them, and that hurts their value quite a bit. The last one I saw that was in near mint condition was one that I bought off of a spinner rack in the 70s, in 1971. I was still in high school. They came out around 70 or 71, and there's, like I said, it's another one of those ones like Atlas Comics. It came out, they did like 2 or 3 issues of each one, 4 of an issue. I think True Romance went to like 4 issues. And that was it. And then they were gone. But now, if you want to get into magazines, Skywald published a lot of cool magazines, mostly horror. And if you run across those are definitely fun to get. Good reads, black and white, magazine sized. Yeah. For those of you that don't know, Michael Mayron and I trade comics back and forth. When he claims something of mine, usually he'll wait and see if anybody else is going to claim it. And if nobody else claims it, sometimes he'll claim it online. Unless it's something he really wants, and then he'll claim it right out. And I think he'd be willing to pay for those, but I just throw them in his box. I don't charge him for them because he sends me a lot of stuff. And some of it's really good. And he always shows me pictures of it first. Read it before you put it in there. There's probably a new story and then some reprints from the 50s. And a couple of them have some Jack Kirby reprints in them. I know one of the ones I have is The Heap, which was only one issue. And then I have Bravado's, I think, one, and a couple others. I don't remember what they are. I could probably go on my database and find out real quick, though. Let me show you what I'm going to press next week, or actually over the next couple of days. Of course, there's the Superman Lois Lane 53 that I just finished cleaning. I'll be putting that in the press tomorrow morning. And then I'll be cleaning and pressing this one. This is number 58. This one is part of my collection, and I'm going to be cleaning that, pressing it. His westerns are good. His horror is excellent, especially if you're talking about monsters. He has a dynamic style to it, which is what makes him so good and what makes people study his artwork so much is the dynamic way that he would do drawings. Not so much the actual art itself, but the way it was done. And of course, he was a creative genius when it came to that sort of thing. Except for Spider-Man. He wanted to give Spider-Man a hood and a gun. Thank you, Steve Ditko, for not allowing that. Ditko would definitely be in my Silver Age, 60s Silver Age, all-time top 10. So, yeah, well, I've been working on that list for about 2 years now, and I've finally decided I can't do it. Originally, it was going to be my top 10 favorite artists of all time. And I managed to get it down to about 50 and went, I can't take anybody else off. How can you take, I mean, I've got Joe Kubert and Russ Heath. How can I take one off and leave the other when they're both just incredible artists? I can't. I can't cut either one of them. If I cut one, I got to cut them both, and I can't do that. How could I cut Carmine Infantino? I mean, if it weren't for him, we wouldn't have the Flash as we know him today with those speed lines, because he came up with that. In addition to being an incredible artist. Steve Ditko. How could I cut Steve Ditko? How could I cut Neil Adams? How could I cut Barry Windsor Smith, John Byrne, John Buscema, Sal Buscema? I can't cut any of these guys any more than I could cut Kurt Schaffenberger or Kurt Swan. or any number of the Golden Age. Keller did some really awesome stuff too. Of course, nobody ever heard of him, but I know who he is. The Archie comic artists, and there was a bunch of them, but in particular, DeCarlo. It's an incredible artist, and his art's cartoony. You have to have a taste for it, but when you look at it, you realize that it's not just about the figures, but how they interact with each other. That's where he does really good. Yeah, Kingston's great, or Krigston's another good example. There's just too many artists that, Basil Wolverton. How could I leave him off? He freaked me out the first time I saw his stuff, but it's so good. There's just too many. I couldn't choose just 10 or 20 or 50. So I'm going to try to do top 10 from each decade that I've been collecting comics. And that's, you get Doug Wildey. Oh, you ever seen Doug Wildey's Western stuff? Oh my God, it's so good. So much better than every other Western out there. And then, of course, later on, he did the Johnny Quest stuff, which is really so good. And he did that in his later years. Gil Kane's early stuff is phenomenal. Not a huge fan of his later stuff. It was still good. It was solid, but it wasn't as good as what his early stuff was. Yeah, he did a lot of early Western stuff. That's phenomenal. He actually started. He started in the 40s, late 40s. So, phenomenal. Just absolutely great artist throughout comic book history. There's a couple of artists that I will absolutely leave off because I didn't care for them. Kurt Swan is not one of them. Kurt Swan will be in there. Believe me, he'll be there somewhere. Kurt Swan, why would I want to have him? Aside from the fact being a solid artist, he defined the way Superman looked for over 50 years. Back in the 50s, he redesigned Superman's costume. And they used that costume up until the late 90s. And to a lesser extent, they still use it. Apple, Merry Christmas, happy whatever. And we'll say Happy New Year later on. Next week, I'll say Happy New Year because it'll be the 1st of January. Yeah, the artists are just, there's too many of them. And there's a lot of forgotten artists that I admire. I liked Don Heck. People never talk about Don Heck, but if you look at the early Iron Mans, a lot of them were done by Don Heck. And of course, there's just so many. I can't think of all their names right now that I want to think of, which is why I have to sit down and write them all down and have a list and have lists that I can go on. And that way I can pull out examples of their art. Yeah, the early Iron Man, a lot of them were done by Don Heck. People never talk about him, but he was really good. I wouldn't put him as great, but he was solid. The only time I wasn't that crazy about his artwork was when they had that one inker that ruined everybody's stuff. He inked everybody. And yeah, you could tell the difference. Yeah, it's Tales of Suspense stuff. I think he did a few. I think he might have done some Hulk work too. Then, of course, you got Gene Colan. Do I put Gene Colan in the 60s for his Daredevil work, or do I put him in the 70s for his Tomb of Dracula stuff? I would say both, but there's too many other artists that I want to put in there. So we'll just have to see. Rich Buckler is another one that I've always really liked. Nobody ever talks about him. He did some really good work. Yeah, that's Vince Colletta. Yeah, he would see an area that was hashed, that was supposed to be hashed, and he just inked it blank. He was a speed inker, and they would use him for that. They'd have something that was coming out late. They'd put Vince Colletta on it, get it inked, in a day, 2 days, whatever. Yeah, I'm not a fan of his inking style. I haven't seen anything that he worked on that I like as far as the inks go. Now, if you get a chance to see the original pencil work, oh, it's incredible. Unfortunately, he ruined so many artists. There were also artists that refused to allow him to ink his work. Neil Adams, I believe, was one of them that said, no, he is not inking my stuff. I will ink it myself. He will not ink it. And of course, he was Neil Adams, so they let him get away with it. Yeah, but Vince Colletta, even as bad as he was, as far as I'm concerned, he has a place in comic book history because he inked probably more artists than anybody else ever. But if you want to see some really good art, really good inks, yeah. See if I can find an example of it. Yeah, I think this is I think that's one of the Gil Kane inked by John Romita. Now I might be wrong. That might be a Ross Andru. And that's definitely got Romita ink written all over it. And the way you're looking up the noses, it has to be Gil Kane. So that's definitely Gil Kane, John Romita. I would have loved to have seen a comic with them working together on it. And that fell in that when I put it down, it fell in the floor. I don't care. I may have to read that, in which case the value of it will be ruined. It's because nobody wants it anyway. So what difference does it make? Daredevil wasn't originally done by yeah. I think the first Daredevil was actually done by what's his name? I can't think of his name off the top of my head. He did the original Submariner, but the name escapes me right now. But I believe he was the first one to do Daredevil, and then Gene Colan took over it from him. I believe. I could be wrong about that, but I don't think I am. I can check the book. The Great Book of Knowledge. And believe it or not, I opened it to within two pages of Daredevil. Yeah, Bill Everett. That's what I thought. Looking to see who did the first issue. Wally Wood did 5 through 8 and number 9. Interior 10 and 11. Kirby did the cover for 2 and 4. I was thinking Wally Wood actually did the first issues, but it's not showing it. It's not actually showing who did the first issues. I'd have to look them up somewhere else. Orlando did 2 and Orlando did number 2 through 4. Or on a lower shelf with something on top of it. And how that happens, I have no idea. That's what happened to that card. It ended up on the bottom shelf with a box on top of it. And now how that happened is beyond me. The Overstreet Comic Book Price Guide. Something everybody should have a copy of. It doesn't have to be a current one. I don't look at it for prices. Well, sometimes I do. On Golden Age stuff, I do. And on early Silver Age, I'll check the prices in there. But on just for general knowledge and look to find out like how many of a certain issue there was of something, or sometimes the artist will be listed in there, cover artist, writers, stuff like that. That's a great resource. Definitely something that collectors should consider getting, but not a basic collect. When you're getting into basics, you don't want to do that. A beginning collector wouldn't want to go out, rush out and buy one of those. But when they get a little deeper into it, then they might consider it. You know, I want new collectors, basic collectors to buy comic books, but not to get ripped off when they buy comic books. I don't want them to spend $50 on a book to learn about comic books. I want them to learn about comic books by reading them and getting them, handling them, and watching YouTube videos that talk about how-tos, what to do with it. Which brings me to why you need these. And this is something I'll be showing in my other video. So why do I need this? Why do I need cotton rounds as a new collector? Let me grab a comic book. we'll take this one, this Marvel Tales. And I'll switch back to my other setting real quick. This is why you need them. Now, this comic, I haven't cleaned it. I haven't done anything to it, not really. But what I do before I put it in a bag, take one of these. And I guess you could use a microfiber cloth on it also, but I've caught the corners on microfiber cloths before. And I don't know if you can see it, but there is a little bit of dirt on it. Just from going over it gently like that. And this was in a bag and board. So there's no guarantee just because it's in a bag and board. Yeah, there's some dirt on it. So just because a comic is in a bag and board does not mean it's clean. And I'm not asking new collectors to clean comics. I'm asking them to wipe them down before they insert them, because that way it'll protect it. Yeah, I thought he did. I guess Joe Orlando did the 2, 3, and 4, and I'm not sure who did the first one. Maybe Jack Kirby did the first one, but I know he did the cover of the first one, but I didn't think he did the interior art. I'll have to look it up. Absolutely, you can smear ink, especially on newer comics. On new comics, you got to be really gentle because the ink doesn't dry. Swamp Baker, glad you could stop in. Merry Christmas. Hope you had a great Christmas. Spent some time with your family, whatever. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I thought Bill Everett did #1. I know he did the cover, and I was thinking he did the first issue. So we got, and then I'll have to check. Let me do that real quick. It'll only take a minute to look it up. Let's see. Go to the database. Jack Kirby and Bill Everett did the cover for #1. And this thing's giving me being a pain. Jack Kirby and Vince Colletta did the cover for #2. And yeah, the pencil art was done by Joe Orlando for the second issue, so I was right. Take care, Michael. We'll chat with you later. Glad you could stop in. Merry Christmas. So yeah, that's a fun time. Bill Everett. When you think of Bill Everett, you think of the 40s because he created Submariner. I have to put him in my Golden Age favorites. Even though I'm not a Submariner fan, I'd still put Bill Everett in there for Golden Age favorites. Maybe. Unless there's 10 others that I like better. And with that, I'm out of coffee. And of course, you can help me because of being out of coffee. If you go down and check the description and hit on that little link that says buy me a cup of coffee, make a little donation. Maybe I can get better. Maybe I can buy some better equipment. It'd make the channel better, make it grow a little bit. But in the meantime, everybody, hope you had a Merry Christmas. I'll see you on Friday night on Horizon Picks channel, Roy's channel, for the Friday night comic book sale. We do more than comic books, of course. Do all kinds of stuff. You just have to enjoy it. You can sit back, enjoy it, buy stuff from us. We always like it when you buy from us, but you don't have to. And we don't get mad if you don't buy. We get mad if you claim and don't pay, but not if you don't buy. And so, yeah, Patrick, thank you for stopping in. You're going to have to come on with me sometime just to well, that's good. That's good. But like I said, you're going to have to come on with me sometime and just be a guest. Just let me know when you want to do that, and we'll make it happen. And anybody else that wants to be a guest, just let me know when, and we can make that happen. As long as it's on a Wednesday night. I'm not doing this on other nights, just Wednesday. So, everybody, have yourself a great night. We'll see you Friday night on Horizon Picks channel, the longest running YouTube comic book sales channel on YouTube. Yes, that's it. And when did you become camera shy? You never were before. Everybody, Merry Christmas. We'll see you next time. Like I said, have a great rest of your week, and we'll see you Friday night. Bye.